for here. I don't have kids yet, so. But one of the things like I said, I love about kids is they don't have. They're a lot more honest about how they look at the world, right? And so, I mean, the one thing about that is, I think as a parent, you want to encourage that for as long as you can, because there is something very refreshing about that, and it's the last thing I'd want to take away from a kid. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean you do see things through a new set of eyes, and you get to re-experience stuff again for the first time. Like Christmas is totally new when you got kids. It's all also Halloween. It's a whole new deal. Things are kind of refreshed in a certain way, and no, it's nice. It's definitely interesting experiencing things as a parent, because not only is it new from your perspective to see your kids experience what were my parents going through when I was little and I was experiencing this, and it kind of makes you reevaluate some of the things when you were growing up, like, well, oh, that's what mommy and daddy meant when they said they were going to take a nap.
Right. That's right. No, it's one of those situations where you recognize the fact that, hey, you know what? It's one of those. I understand now why I need a nap, and where I'm still a little jealous of kids. I'm mostly school kids. They get recess and we don't.
Yeah. Oh man, it blows my mind. Like my 3-year-old, right now she was downstairs and she was just screaming because she's sick, and we're like, you just need to take a nap. She's like, I don't want to take a nap. It's like, man, I would love to take naps. I would love it if people applauded me when I went to take a nap, but I don't even get naps. I got to make sure you don't die.
I'm just going to give it to you right now, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Nap,
so good.
Nap cool. Like honestly, it's one of those things where just like, you think about it, it's like when you're a kid, it's like, oh, I'm too old for naps. And then you get older, it's like, nah, you're never too old for naps. Screw that. I'm doing this napping thing for as long because it's good and awesome and amazing and all that other wonderful stuff, right? So why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you like do those things? It just seems like an incredible. It's little things we take for granted as kids. I think that's the other thing about kids too. Again, we take so much stuff for granted. They don't. So it's like, I think I'd be reevaluating some of how I'd look at things if I was a parent. Just because your kids just kind of put some things in perspective. Like, you know what? Maybe they're onto something that I just forgot.
Well, and plus they just get away with things that you very much cannot get away with. My 3-year-old does not like to wear pants. We'll just take them off. She'll go to the bathroom and then she'll take them off. And then we're like, okay, you got to put your pants back on, kid. That's part of the deal is the pants go down, you use the body, pants go back up. So we're doing, we're doing the thing where you bribe them with M&Ms just to potty train, and so now it's like, okay, no, you're potty trained, you do all that, that's fine. But you want your M&Ms, you go, shoot your pants back. Now we got to wash your hands.
So you resort to bribery. I mean, it's an age-old tactic.
Absolutely.
It works. Yes.
Incentive is a real thing. Kids are born innate with it. Why not prepare them for the real world, right? The real world, you're going to have to, you got to earn it.
I'm guessing in your case, your candy's right behind you with the guitars.
Oh, yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my music studio. I used to have it in a different room, but then this guy was born and I got evicted. My wife's like, nope, taking it upstairs. I'm like, all right.
Tears in your eyes. You got evicted.
Yeah, tears in my eyes as I disconnected all the miles of cabling.
That's bio-worthy right there. Author bio-worthy. My kid evicted me from my music room. Like that is like bio material right there.
Hey, it was worth it. He was worth
it.
Totally.
No, I'm not. I mean, you might as well have fun with it, right? You might as well have fun with it.
And then the cruel joke is I came up here, I moved all my gear and my singing. But since he's been born, I have not had the time to just spend 5 hours up here reconnecting everything and getting it all set back up. So
no, that's probably not going to happen for honestly probably another couple of years. Like probably
about writing books is that it is a lot easier to do when you have small children than doing band-related activities.
That's
It's
right.
just your laptop goes anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
yeah, like writing is like the easiest in arts and ones. You don't even really even need a computer. You just need a pen and paper. Now, obviously, with kids, they might decide to rip up your pen and paper stuff, so it's a little bit more dangerous. It's harder for them to destroy a laptop. I'm not going to say it's impossible because these are kids, and if anyone can find a way to destroy anything, it's a kid. So, but it's harder, right? It's a lot harder. So you just so you're safe ish. Is ish a word there?
You got to be careful. I'm telling you, kids want to, like, especially babies. Say hi, Harrison. Hey, wait, wrong way. They experience the world by putting things in their mouth, and so they don't know what's going to kill them and what's not. So if it's on the floor, it's going in the mouth. So you are in a constant state of looking around, like, okay, kind of like I've never brought him up here in this room before. The first thing I did was like, okay, all my various screws and things have to get picked up.
I don't want to find them in my baby's mouth. So nope. Not gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eyes on the kid. Always eyes on the kid.
That's right. That's why I said you're not leaving this lap because I don't know what you're gonna do in here if I let you go. So it's like,
or I know what you're gonna do, and it's gonna be bad. You're gonna break something or break yourself.
Yep, my money's on something. Babies are surprisingly tough. Like I mean, they are surprisingly tough. It's almost like they have this durability. They can fall and get up, and nothing. I fall like a baby. I'm not getting up. I'm probably just like, you know what? I'm just gonna lay here for a while, wondering why did I do that.
Yeah. With them, they scream until you come get them. But I mean, the first time I remember with my daughter, the one she's 3. She was a baby, and I was carrying her, and I hit her head against the side of a door when I was coming in, and I was like, oh my god, I'm the worst parent. I gave her brain damage, and she's gonna have all these problems now. No, she was fine. And then I talked to other parents, and they're like, oh no, I've dropped my kid. They bounce, they're squishy. And you kind of have to get through that first wave of like, oops, I think I messed my kid up for life. It's like, no, they're fine. Humans did not get to where they are today by being incredibly fragile. We bounce.
We do have some degree of resiliency. I mean, we might not want to wear pants like your daughter, but we do come with a certain degree of resiliency to go. Right?
She's onto something. I mean, let's be real. Pants are terrible. Probably the worst part of modern living.
Yeah. No, it's one of those. I mean, the one thing about this time is like most of the formal crap we used to do, we don't do anywhere near as much, which is like great on one hand because it's like, you know what? I don't have to wear this shit so much anymore. This is great.
Oh yeah. Like I was talking to my wife yesterday, 2 days ago, going into Thanksgiving. Like, why do people dress up in formal attire to go hang with their family on Thanksgiving? I dressed up in a sweatsuit that was fashioned after George Washington's outfit in his painting, and all elastic, baby, felt real good.
Yeah,
you wear a tie, a suit and a tie. Come on.
I've never done that.
Overrated.
Christmas. It's too like you're not. What are you gonna do? You're gonna stuff your face with food. You know what food tends to do? It likes to wander. So I mean, why are you wearing nice stuff when you're just gonna stuff your face for hours on end? And then the next thing you know, you're gonna be sitting on the couch, probably in some kind of weird ass food coma, right? Yeah. Now everything's just feeling tight and uncomfortable. I mean,
yeah. If you're not wearing elastic on Thanksgiving, you're doing it wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, grant you, our Thanksgiving was a month ago because we're Canadian, right?
Oh, good point. That's true.
Now yours, like in one sense, you guys are smarter because you guys have now like essentially a 4-day weekend in November because Black Friday is on top of that, and most people, if they don't want to go out if they don't have to go out on Black Friday, they just
I avoid it.
Yeah. I did go out yesterday.
Hard pass.
There was a library book sale in town, so I'm a sucker for like books that cost like $1 that are amazing, but you can't
get anything good.
Like, oh yeah, I got me Miss Peregrine's School Children's Books 1 and 2. I got me an old school. I don't know what kind of like books you like to read, but I got myself like an old school science fiction anthology, like really old school. Like I'm talking
Nice.
1970s stuff. And then I got a kind of like a Chinese autobiography, and there was one other book I picked up too. It was like so I got $5, $10. Like that's a pretty sweet deal,
Heck
you know?
yeah.
Heck yeah! I'm
Heck
almost
yeah.
tempted, I'm almost tempted to go back, except I'm probably again I'm still a kid at heart. I don't know. I get the feeling you are too. You just have responsibilities. I don't. So that's the only difference. And so I'm almost like, do I dare abuse my privileges or do I actually call it a day here? And part of me thinks you should probably call it a day. Another part of me thinks, go for it.
It's a scratch that itch, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, see if I can find myself a couple of the other things. I was actually going to pick up a series they had book one there. They didn't have it, but if they find it, it's like sweet, you know.
No,
They go back
finding old books. Finding old books is really cool when you're kind of browsing through stuff. We have a family business we run. It's in the recycling sector, and when we took over this one building to expand, it used to be a furniture store. And this furniture store, it was like this guy had this, like, you know, they did custom cabinets, and the inside of this building was all these different kind of custom cabinets for people to go and like see the showrooms and everything. And they stocked them with just all these used books they got. And when the place went out, it just like keep them. So I was going through them and I found like an old computing manual from like 1908. I found like just all these old books, and like some of the, you know, I mean, they're not great or anything, but they're just old. And they were free.
Well, there are treasures there, right? Sometimes you find like real treasures. So I lived in Windsor, Ontario. So back in the days when crossing the border wasn't such a pain in the goddamn ass, I would go regularly across the border to Detroit. Detroit has this bookstore called John King Books. It is 5 floors of used books.
Nice.
Dear God, the shit I found in there. Like I found some like great old amazing books that was like, wow. Like there's like, okay, I'll never see some of this stuff again. I saw an original copy of Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire in there. I saw stuff like, I saw science fiction older than my dad, right? Even now, older than my dad, right? So like
well, that really old sci-fi is really cool. Just seeing what people in the 1930s thought the year 2000 would look like, and there always seem to be flying a lot of jetpacks. Everyone's got jetpacks.
Well, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, so you want to find the stuff that kind of translates true from that era. Political commentaries carry through very well from the 20s to now. Like 100 years later, what was said then is still relevant now. It's actually unbelievable.
Sadly,
yes,
because you can plug in any technology you want, any technology, any new new way of doing things you want, but humans are still humans. We're the constant.
I actually like looking at the 20th century. I also think it's a large part of it is how we designed our system. Like I'm not sure it's humans being human beings in the system we've created. I think if a different system, some of the same problems would translate. You're right, no matter where we go, but some of them I don't think would. I just think there's a the more we tend to go towards independence of the systems that govern us, the more, again, there's definitely some human issues that are always there, but I have a tendency to believe that we actually shy away from those things, right? And we kind of go into and because one thing I've noticed about human beings, no matter who I've interviewed, where I go, most of us, it's the same thing. We just want to do what we're going to do and be left alone to do it with people we love. That is everybody. I don't care who it is. That is absolutely everybody.
No, it's a constant.
Yeah. That has never changed, and I don't think that ever will change. I just think how we interact with each other, the things we have to do, like ideas like insurance and our banking system. If those were gone, we might actually be better in some ways. Maybe we'd be worse. Who knows? But I think like things like that definitely alter behavior. You take those things away, we'd come up with something new and different. I think we would be a little different. We'd still be assholes, but everybody's an asshole. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we can get to that brave new utopia someday where everyone just gets to follow their dream, right? The Star Trek model.
I think
A,
the
po-
possibility is there now. Like, to be
a
very honest with you.
post-material world.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know if we're ever gonna get to a post-material world, but I do think we're gonna get to like the technology exists today. For most of us, like you could decentralize most things today. The
Well, you already
technology
got
today.
cryptocurrency is going to decentralize currency.
Oh
It's
yeah, it has. It already has.
it's getting
Right,
there.
but I mean, social media has decentralized media. I mean, the fact that we were able to talk like this is decentralized government. Like, how do you like? We don't necessarily need to be in a centralized world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those situations where, if you look at it from the technology standpoint, we are already on the precipice of a brave new world. I just think most people haven't realized it at this moment in time. It's like, hey, I can do stuff I've never thought of doing before. And I think once we grasp that more, I mean, the inevitable question becomes, what do we need such and such a system for anymore? And why would we listen to it anymore? Right? I
Yeah,
think
well, we'll see if
we're
social media gets us to that direct democracy system where every day at 10 a.m. everyone logs on. Okay, what's on the agenda today?
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get to that point, but I just think, okay, just think of it like this: you can find a group of like-minded people in a place. You can make most of the stuff you need on your own anyway. Most of it, not all. You still need some infrastructure. You still need some things, but for the most part, like the big oversight, these big giant structures overseeing everything, they're not necessary anymore. Most of us have the tool. We have more tools now in each of person's grasp to do more things
Yes
on
and
our own.
no. I would say yes, in that in terms of like information and some of those things, but also, I mean, you just see with how intertwined the global supply chains are that it is very interconnected, and there's a lot of stuff you can't do without pulling resources and materials from a lot of other places. I think that giant system, I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword because on one hand, it shows like something like a pandemic can kind of make the whole system buckle where now you have a line, a conga line of ships outside of every single port trying to get unloaded and people can't get what they need and businesses are struggling, da 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 da. But that's also enabled massive gains in efficiency, which has enabled cheaper prices and more availability of goods and services to people that they might not otherwise have. I mean, I'm speaking to you right now through my iPhone that would cost 3 or 4 times as much if they tried to build it entirely from materials they sourced in my home country, United States, right? And a lot of that, there's a lot of those like kind of things that people don't really see that across supply chains that happen, that require pulling different materials and different items and different technology and different just from different industries across the world. And so I think untying that knot is a lot more difficult than I think people might think it is. You know
I
what I mean?
don't. Yes, I'm going to push back on you slightly on this. Take this. This is part of the problem with the pushback. So, how much does it cost to make this cup of coffee? Do you know?
10 cents for the coffee. Let's say your lid is like a fraction of a penny. Your cup is maybe 1 penny, but the labor is the most expensive aspect of it. And the
And you
rent
need
and the
labor for
electricity and all the
you
other
need
things
labor
that come
for like
along
the
with it.
couple of minutes it just takes to make this coffee is really cheap. We have this tendency to do in our culture is we add a lot of inflated cost to all our stuff, not just coffee but everything.
Well,
But the thing is, the challenge is just really simple. Can we make it cheaper to make something here than there? I think
well,
there's a really easy. I think the argument. I think from a purely labor technological point of view, absolutely. I think the question, the real negotiation is, right? Are people willing to actually negotiate those things like we used to? Because one of the things we generally don't do as a culture anymore is negotiate.
I don't know. My wife's got mad at me because I tried to barter at the mall before. Trying to
That's my
negotiate
point.
with them. She's like,
But
you can't haggle
but
with the
that,
person at the mall.
yeah,
Sorry.
I've seen it done. My grandmother's done it. It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
It's old school.
But the thing is, it's not even about frugal. It's just she understands how things cost. Like I said, there's an overhead on everything that's not by design
Well,
necessarily.
actually, a cup of coffee is a good one, right? So, you live in Canada. It'd be very difficult to grow the coffee beans in Canada. There's certain things that you guys could do. You could manufacture the plastic lids and the paper cups, but when you really stack it, things do add up. I mean, you got to get the beans, and then the beans you got to ship the beans, and then when you bring the beans, you got to pay your import taxes, and then you got to go to that place, you got to roast the beans, and then you got to send to another place, and you're paying for the logistics to ship it back and forth. And when you're paying for logistics, you're also paying for the guy who's driving the trucks back and forth, and the person putting it on the crane, and this, and just getting that cup of coffee. There are probably 1,000 people involved in all the various different industries and supply chains to get you that cup of coffee in your hand.
I'd say a few hundred, but I definitely I get where
you'd be surprised.
Oh, I used to work at a shipping company, so I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of the logistics.
Yeah, all the different parts and components that went into that cup of coffee required probably 20 different trips on a truck between the plastic lid, but before it was a plastic lid, it was a roll of plastic sheet. Before a roll of plastic sheet, it was plastic resin. Before it was plastic resin, it was various chemicals at a DuPont plant, and and down the line before that it was oil in the ground, and so there's all these steps going up for every single thing you're doing.
Oil is probably the biggest cost, to be perfectly honest with you. When you sit there and do the math on that, pardon me, it's the, believe it or not, it's the oil, because the real cost of everything we have in terms of technology comes from oil. It's just the truth. The oil has created the abundance we have today. One of the reasons supply chains are struggling right now is, 100 years ago, to get 100 barrels of oil out of the ground, it only would cost you 1 barrel. Now that 1 barrel only gets you 5 barrels. Right? And it's not that there isn't enough oil in the world. There's plenty of oil in the world, but it's accessibility of that oil, right? So now what's happening is, from a supply chain point of view, the supply is not as easy. It's not as easy to make that same abundance anymore. You have to do a lot more work to create that abundance. So some of the solutions to that would be either find another easy access point for more oil, because again, you're not going to drain the oil. You're not going to drain the oil from the world. Oil is going to be there forever. But the accessibility aspects to it, and the cost to get that oil out of the ground, how many barrels, like if it's 1-to-1, it's not worth it. If it's 2-to-1, it's certainly not worth it. So those are some of the supply chain. That's
so
probably the biggest cost.
You're talking about the low-hanging fruit in terms of extraction, right? It's not like Beverly Hillbillies. You shoot at a rabbit, you hit the ground, and oil starts coming up. All that oil's been taken out. Right now, you got like the fracking and all that stuff. But then you're saying it was easier back then. But what about the technology and all the other things that are available to do things at a larger scale than they used to be done? Would you say that
there are limits to that? And also, we've been very wasteful in the last 100 years. What tends to happen when we have an abundance of wealth is we take it for granted, right? It's just natural. If it's been readily available for so long, we're not going to care. We're not going to notice if a few things go missing, or we're not going to care to make the most efficient ways, or right, not right away. If it's been working for so long, why change? Why do something? But I mean, some of it is just limitations for all our technology. There are some things we still can't do very easily. This is one of those things that we're still working on. The reason I know some of the stuff I'm talking about there's a really good book called The Energy of Slaves. It talks about how oil changed our whole outlook on power, and how that has created the wealth systems we know today. And it's why we've been able to grow an abundant amount of food, we have power, electricity.
Fertilizers and plastics and moving things around much cheaper. It's
it all comes from that. It all comes from. In fact, the Civil War, honestly, if it's I think one of the most creative things I read about in that book was the Civil War. You can make the argument was really about oil taking over slavery, right? Because it was a more efficient way of getting more power than hiring slaves to do it. And when that happened, it was a big change of the guard, right? And like I said, now we're not like that's still like we still have supply chain issues, but from a communications technology information perspective, we've hit another revolution now, and it's going to change everything going forward. I think the real question is, what is that going to look like? I think we have a lot more say in that than I think people realize, because unlike again, we all have access to information that we all can literally be the dude that's building something in his basement now, because we have access to that information in ways that nobody else in history has ever had. So you could create something completely brand new that no one would have thought of because of the information you access and also just how you think, and vice versa with me too. We can reinvent the wheel. And the fact is, there are billions of us with this access. That's a billion different ways of looking at things. And that can create an abundance of ideas. So information is now cheaper in one sense, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I think in terms of, if you look at, circling back to those old sci-fi novels, it was always, the future was always an energy revolution. It was always cheap and abundant energy and people flying to the stars. And again, everyone's got a jetpack and all that stuff. But no, we're still using, oil and coal and gas and all these things. And there's phase outs happening. And I would like to think that we would get out of that before we cook our planet and everyone, we can't maintain the population we have on the planet. But no, it's been information. It's been an information revolution. That's what we've seen. That's what our future is. That's what the information, the future of information, the fact that it's democratized and everyone has access to it. And, you can travel to any country and people got cell phones in their hands. Doesn't matter if it's, Western industrialized or third world, whatever you want to call it. People have cell phones. People do their banking online. People have access to social media and talking to other people. And I think it's like fire, like anything, any new technology. It can be good or it can be bad. It can be used in different ways. And we've definitely seen the ways that it's been used for bad, with, a lot, just the explosion of propaganda and misinformation, and used as a tool to, further interests of, certain people. But it's also a good thing, people can find their, long lost family members and can keep up with people and are able to do work remotely. And that was really helpful during the pandemic. You still got bills to pay, right? So good and bad with it. But I think that's where we are. We're still waiting for that energy revolution. I think that will be hopefully the next big one. We'll see.
Well, it's the last thing. Like I said, the other big struggles when you look at a revolution is those that benefit from the way things are going to be fighting to stay in the game. That has always been the case. When things change, when again we talked about, I just mentioned the Civil War. There was a very old way of doing things. Now and then suddenly a new way came about, and there was a struggle. I think a lot of what's going on right now is that struggle we have come into. Whether we realize this or not, that's really the struggle going on right now. And I think I'm going to be very curious. Like I said, I'm going to be curious next couple of years how it all works out. But the way I look at it is that the majority of the systems we have are obsolete. Not all of them, but the vast majority of them are kind of obsolete now. And it's going to create some changes, and it's going to be.
I was going to say, yeah, you're right in that. I think we're in a transitory period. I mean, you look throughout history, and you have the same kind of 1, 2, 3. Whenever you look at any major upheaval, you have a change in technology, which changes the way the way commerce is conducted, which then changes the way society reacts. It's in that order. And just like you could say during the Civil War, you had the Industrial Revolution, right? You had suddenly just large amounts of people doing physical labor suddenly wasn't the most cost-effective way to do something, and that would create a great upheaval in terms of how people would be addressing producing things, and then which again leads you into the abolition of slavery and society changing from that one.
Yeah, like I just see it like this. Like I think some of the reasons some of the events, some of the way things are happening right now is in large part I think a lot of these systems in place just know that if they don't do something now, they'd be extinct. Right? I look at the publishing industry as kind of a microcosm to this. I don't need a traditional publisher anymore. I had that really like I had that revolutionary thought because it occurred to me that I have a platform here.
Absolutely.
It's growing.
Absolutely.
Right? And it's been growing on my own. On my own, I've gotten like award nominations. I've gotten people to buy my books on my own. I've done some really cool things. I've seen people get movie deals off of Kickstarter projects.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell me? If I'm going to go for traditional publishing, there would have to be very specific reasons for me to go that route. Mm-hmm. And the longer and the more years go by, the less those reasons exist. So what's happening now is traditional publishing, is a niche in the larger world of publishing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no conglomerate. I mean, you can make the argument that Amazon, Kobo, and those things are the real conglomerates of publishing because they're the platforms people can go and put their stuff out into. But there's other platforms that I'm mentioning, but that's just giving you a really basic idea, right?
I think both things are true. I think both things are true. It is simultaneously the old gatekeepers no longer control the inflows and outflows of information the way they did. You can, write, put it up on Amazon, do the whole thing, and have control of your writing career and however you want to see it and shape it and not have anyone tell you what you have to write about or how you have to tell your stories. But at the same time, Amazon, they made the platform. In a way, they are the biggest publisher.
Yeah.
But it's like the barest of bones of publishing deals. They keep 30% after the cost of making your book, and I mean that's fantastic. You see some of these other deals, and it's so inverted. Like I used to I was in music, I was in bands, and I did a lot of touring and putting out records and all that stuff. And you would see these deals where the artists were only keeping 20%, and then you'd split it amongst the band. But even then, after you got to pay your lawyer and you got to pay your everyone else that's a part of your team. And it's just gnarly that it's been flipped now to where, because it's in your hands, you don't have to just give your soul away. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just recognizing what you have to do as an author today, and it's not about getting a publishing deal necessarily. That doesn't mean you still can't do a traditional publishing deal. I want to make that very clear. If that's what you want to do, by all means, do it. But your real job is to make great content and build your audience. I'm just simplifying it. So like I'm making this almost the KISS method, right? But that's literally what it is now. You make a great product that you want to invite people to come play in, and you build your audience and let it know what's out there. And that's pretty much it.
Well, ain't that what we're doing right now, buddy?
That's totally what this is, right? That's totally what this is. You, Paul, are looking to expand your audience. So you're coming here to talk to my audience. And someone that, right? People like Jag who are listening live on Twitch, people who will eventually listen to this on the audio, and the occasional person that watches it on YouTube. I freely admit YouTube's primarily just my resume, not my medium of choice. But either way, you're still getting access to different audiences doing this. And even if you get 1 or 2 sales or 3 or 4 sales, or hopefully more than that, obviously. But the idea is you build an audience, you make an impression, and you build from it, and you keep building from it. And that's it. That's your job. And if you do that, it also gives you more. Let's say you do decide to go into traditional publishing. Hey, we love your audience. Hey, I love money. So what are you willing to give me to have access to my audience? That's a big part of it now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and you have to weigh it, too, between the time you have and all the other things. So, I wrote a little pivot now, right? So I wrote my debut novel, Sunset Distortion, The Pyramid at the End of the World, every night after I put my kids to bed for 5 years. Or even when my wife was pregnant with our first child, just everyone go to sleep and I just hang out for a couple hours and I write every single night. I own my own business with my brother. We do, I have a day job. I love it. It's very fulfilling. I'm not in a place where I'm like, I have to put X amount so many words for me to pay my bills. Like I was never in that position, thankfully. So I was able to write purely from a place of wanting to tell the story I wanted to tell the way I wanted to tell it. And so after I wrote it, I had it done and I'm like, okay, I spent so long writing this book. Now what? And so I started looking into publishing and looking into all the different traditional publishers and the submittal process. And I did a round of that. And my neighbor who lived 2 houses down, she's a college professor, brilliant woman who wrote a memoir. And we've both been kind of talking back and forth. Oh, well, I'm working on this. This is where I'm at. How are you? And, oh, I'm working with this editor. How are you working with this editor? And then we both finished our books at the same time. And I said, I did some of this traditional publishing. She even loaned me a book about getting your book published. And I went through and everything. And I said, you know what? This is a job unto itself of getting yourself a traditional publisher. Oh, yeah. I think I can be, I could use my time better building my audience and putting my book out and really approaching this more like how I did putting my band out there than following the traditional path. And she said, well, I'm going to follow the traditional path. And I said, cool, I'll race you. And so, she's still working on that and I'm still doing it this way. And I found that I've really enjoyed the process of even working on building my audience, of getting on podcasts and doing guest essays and really just kind of getting out there and trying to put the book out. In of itself, it's a process, and I think it's a more enjoyable one than just printing stuff out, putting an envelope, mailing it out over and 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 over again.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I know. I actually interviewed a international bestseller. I'm not gonna name names because she's coming back on the show later next month. And she chased a traditional publishing thing for a year. Me and her have been kind of talking off. We talk off and on, just talk off and on. And she's like, yeah, I'm not going to do traditional publishing anymore. She actually decided after about a year of it's like, it's just too slow. And I honestly think like that's the thing. I think it's not so much that it's the process, it's the time. If it was, okay, maybe you have to go, if you have to go with the process of going through a traditional publisher, realistically, I think 6 months is a reasonable time to wait for a publisher to hear back.
Mm-hmm.
9 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
6 months is reasonable. Again, it's because it's a mutual investment of time. It's not about being part of the system or not being part of the system. It's just you gotta, like, if I'm giving it to an agent, I am committing to an X amount of time that the manuscript's going to be in the agent's hands. And I might not hear from the agent right when their limits start, like, please allow 6 months. So that means, 6 months in a week, I'm going to have to start knocking on their door and say, hey, what's going on? Not because I don't necessarily want to, I just need to hear the yes or no. That's time I'm wasting. Yeah. Whereas if I'm doing it myself, okay, so I got to do guest essays. I got to come on podcasts. I got to make an ass of myself on a regular basis. I'm good at that. I'm really.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah, I think a half hour in this chat, it's like, yep, he can do that, no problem, right? But it's a different process. You're still putting time in, but I think the big difference, what I like about indie publishing is you're putting time into you. It's just, I think for a lot of indie authors, it's more along the lines of, what are we supposed to do? And the answer, honestly, is build your audience. Whether it's through a podcast like this, whether it's through a newsletter, just build places that people can invest in you and keep following through on them.
I put it like this, right? I'm going to go back to the world of being in a band because that's what I know. This is what I did. For a long time. Hey, you guys in internet land, you want to check it out? I had a band called The Infamous They. You can find it on Spotify. I had a band called Inverse. That was the one that did all the touring and all the records. Broke up before Spotify was a thing. You can find some videos on YouTube. But it's when you're in a band, you're starting a band, you're in the practice room, which is analogous to you're sitting in your writing space and you're writing. You're working on your art, the thing you're going to create, and you're saying what you want to say, how you want to say it. And then you get to the point where, like, okay, I wrote my novel, or okay, I have my band. Well, when you have your band? Well, now you got to start playing shows. And I feel like these podcasts and these essays and all these other kinds of avenues that you take as an indie author. It's just like gigging. But it's something that can be immensely enjoyable. And I've, had some wonderful conversations with people, and it's great to be able to, have discussions about your work and their work and everything like that. And I feel like that's the same thing playing in a band and gigging and getting out there and touring and just building your audience and then having a place for them to go. Like right now I'm working on my website because, I went into this as just, hey, I need a creative outlet or I'm going to go insane. I don't have the ability to be in a band anymore. Running a business is obviously very time consuming. Having small children, very time consuming when you stack them up. So it's like writing, that's where I'm going to pour it all into. And in doing that, I've kind of drawn on those analogies of being in a band and trying to build it up in that way. So I have my website I'm working on right now. But in the meantime, if you want to come say hi, facebook.com/Paul Bahou Writes. Come drop me a line. Come read some of the short stories I put up there. If you don't want to commit to buying a full-length science fiction novel about an 80s rocker being abducted by space aliens and being sent on an intergalactic adventure.
Right.
Paul Bahou Writes. But you spelled my name right, which is great. People always butcher my name. It's really difficult, even though it's so short.
Done.
I think it's it. I don't know. I'm turning the corner to 40, and my eyes can't really read that small font the way they used to.
I'm fortunate. I'm 40, and I haven't lost. I mean, here's the deal. I'm in a little bit more pain than I was in my 20s, but I can still move around. I can still do everything I did in my 20s. I got most of my hair. Yeah.
Oh,
totally.
That was my thing. Is I'm definitely, I get a little more sore, and my eyes aren't as good, but still got the hair, baby. What's up?
That's right.
Boom.
It's all about the hair. It's
all about the hair. I tied it up. I was like,
hair.
Maybe my son's going to be trying to grab at it during the interview. No, he's very well behaved.
Is that good?
There it is. Yeah.
There we go.
So
I almost know what I'm doing anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It's become a much more regular thing. I'm going to regularly start doing things. Yes. But and by the way, she's laughing at me. He's like, "Yep, I'm getting there, Jag, getting there, Jag." All right, so learning to stream has been a fun experiment in the last year. So
well, I found that the live stream, like I talked to a lot of other indie writers and people who are putting their podcasts up, and I think that's a very healthy and important part of this whole indie author ecosystem. It gets people talking to each other. It creates a venue for people to share audiences, and you'll get on one podcast and the person's been doing it for years and they're a pro and they got it all lined down and buttoned up, and then you get on with someone and they just started it 6 months ago and they're still figuring it out. And I think that just like creating and writing, you're building your audience and you're doing something that's enjoyable for other people, and it's a great thing.
No, absolutely. It's more along the lines of the fact that it's, for me, I've done the podcast for a long time, but I shifted from audio to video about a year, like fully video a year ago. I've done 200 episodes, kind of like, this is what I do.
It's good.
I have a big mouth and I'm good at it, and I just like this has become my business. Like literally, I just got my first gig of actually doing a commercial for somebody as a video package. It's kind of really cool that I'm starting to do that kind of stuff, kind of work now too.
Congrats.
Yeah. So I mean,
another little dash on your LinkedIn page, huh?
yeah. It's like, it's just pretty much, it was what it comes down to is I just make a complete, I'm really good with my mouth, and it's opened all kinds of interesting doors, and I'm just walking through them because it just makes sense. And one of the things is I've learned about doing this is, I'm still writing, I'm still doing all kinds of things. The moment we're done here, I go back to doing my final proof on my book as I get ready to launch mine on Wednesday. But even so, it's just one of those situations where, I just, again, you know this too. You started in the band. Band taught you skills that also taught you what you probably carried with you in your business, and your business has given you skills that you're carried with you into your writing, right? Because everything builds somewhere.
Oh, it's very holistic, and they're all, puzzle pieces of a wider picture. And yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. I mean, even like the subject matter of my book, I reference a lot of the things I learned being in a band. When they say write what you know, and I was like, I'm going to write this story. It's about a guy in a band Albeit he stayed in a band, never gave up, and lived his life in his 40s as if he was still in his 20s, which we've all met that guy. I don't know if you're a big music guy who've been to a lot of shows or involved in a music scene. There's always the diehards, the true believers, never gave up on the dream, and that's kind of like the place where I started with my main character, Laser.
Yeah,
is taking that aspect of my old life, my pre-fatherhood life, pre-running a business life, and being able to, I want to say, pass it through my modern day filters and understanding kind of how things are a little bit when you get older and looking at it from a new perspective. When I first wrote this story, it was a short story for a college class, and I was 20, writing a story about it, the kind of guys that I'd see around the scene that were, they're 50 years old, they're still playing in bands, they're still partying. And I'm like, man, these guys are so rad. And I wrote the story kind of based around that. And then as I got older, I revisited it and I wanted to write a novel. And I took it from a new dimension, which was actually, it's almost sad in a way if you've lived your life as if you were in your 20s and you never grew from that. You never became somebody different. You never, even if your interests stay the same, which is great, and you still want to play in a band, which is great, but to be in that kind of headspace, stuck in that headspace, to never grow as an individual or try to do something different or get more out of your life, it kind of started taking that tack, and that kind of became like the emotional foundation of the story.
Well, it's interesting because I've never really wanted to do anything else but write. Now, the thing is, what I've learned doing this is, and this my whole journey doing this is, it's not you don't have to necessarily give up your dreams, but what you have to understand. What I've learned too is it never is going to go according to plan. You never. If you have this set idea of where you're going to go and how you're going to get there, I think those people are disasters. It's like you've never really gone through the whole gambit of doing stuff. I never envisioned doing this podcast. It just kind of happened. I never envisioned like doing video work. That's just kind of happened recently, right? But but again, I was willing and open to change. I think the biggest thing is when you go chase your goals, right? It's gonna evolve. You're going to evolve. Hopefully, you need to evolve, and as you evolve, the goals evolve. And
yes.
And as long as that's going on, I don't think you necessarily quote unquote have to give up, settle down, all that stuff. But if you cannot stay the same person your whole life. That is sad because what are you going to do with it? I mean, there's so much life you miss out on if that's the case.
And you can become stagnant and you can be stuck in these old ways. And the thing is some things don't even, what served you in your youth might not serve you as an adult. What you needed and what you wanted out of your 20s, I know for a fact is not what I want and need as, I'm 39 years old. Radically different things. And how you conduct yourself and how you, talk to other people and just how you go about getting what you want. It all changes. Like you said, your wants and should grow and change as you personally evolve and grow and change. And so that's kind of like one of the main themes explored in my novel is because when we meet Laser, the main character, he's just getting wrecked every night, playing shows to a bunch of, horny MILFs who never gave up on the rock and roll ride or die dream. And they're just living this, I would almost consider it like purgatory. You're just stuck living this same lifestyle night after night. It's like Groundhog Day. He goes out, he plays a show, a bunch of covers of, hard rock and heavy metal songs to a bunch of people who lived that life back when they were young. And then he gets hammered and wash, rinse, repeat, And so he gets abducted by aliens, and after he's abducted and they're missionaries trying to convert him, and he doesn't even really understand what he's going on because he's so hammered. He thinks he's in Vegas, but it's a missionary ship, and they're just having this cross communication where he's just not understanding. It's not clicking because he's just in this mindset but it's that getting abducted and getting literally pulled out of that lifestyle that gives him the space and room to start actually, not necessarily to immediately just change or become a better person, but to understand the need to change and become a better and new person. It's not even about right away, going on that journey. It's just understanding that journey exists in the first place. And so he gets sent on this. He just goes through. It's almost like an Odyssey, right? Where just every chapter he's encountering new aliens and beings and creatures, and there's a wider story arc involved. But it's through all of these trials that he starts kind of looking inward a little bit in these different perspectives of like, oh, maybe that's not the life I need to keep living. Oh, maybe I do need to have deeper friendships that just don't involve people that I just get hammered with. Maybe, and why am I this way? Oh, was it my life? Was it my parents? Was it what got me here? Like just him starting to scratch at the surface of understanding that journey that he needs to go on.
Well, I think here's the thing. Like I recognize this in my journey too. Is you have to let yourself stay uncomfortable. It's really easy to get caught doing the same thing over and over again because that's all you know. You can't live like that. You have to at some point I gotta go outside my comfort zone. And for all of us, that's a different thing for all of us. The truth of the matter is, it's like, yeah, I need to do stuff. Yeah, I need to evolve. I need to grow. I need to get certain things. And I think what happens for a lot of people, and then not just artists, but I think people in general, it's really easy to get caught in your comfort zone. And once you're kind of in that zone, all of a sudden outside looks a lot scary. It's like, well, if I stay here, I know what I'm getting into. It might suck, but at least I know this, right? And it sounds like if your main character, that's pretty much what happened to him. He got to that point where it was like, I don't know anything else. I'm kind of scared to look around, and then the aliens basically gave him no choice. You're going to look around, and when you look around, you're going to have to deal with your shit.
And also, watch out for the impending space pirates coming at you with laser swords, and the giant gladiator monster that wants to feed you to his children. So
you know what, I don't know if you're gonna get anyone else to buy it, but I think I'm probably gonna buy this book. This sounds awesome.
If you like, I've had different people, people who have read it come to me and they kind of give me their like, it's like this, but this, but this, and I was on a different podcast and he was saying like, it was like like Aeon Flux but funny, and I was like, yeah, like I would definitely say like Aeon Flux meets. One guy said Aeon Flux and the other guy said heavy metal, like that '80s cartoon. And I was like, yeah, if you take both of those and you put them together and then you throw in like a joke per page, yeah, that's kind of where you're at.
Yeah, no, I look at it from like the. It reminds me a little bit of Monty Python. There's a little Monty Python-esque.
Yeah, I've been told Mel Brooks more than once.
Well, hey, Mel Brooks works too. It's close enough. Yeah. It's in that vein, right? So. No, like some of the most profound books I've read in like fantasy science fiction are funny books. Terry Pratchett, Ailey Martinez, although Kurt Vonnegut isn't really considered sci-fi, some of his more like stuff like Sarah Has Five.
I put him in that column for sure.
Yeah. Piers Anthony, even like all of these guys that are really, really funny have these like really profound insights of life. And they do it in a way that doesn't. I wouldn't say it's offensive. They make you laugh, and by making you laugh, they open you up to make you think. And that's comedy's secret superpower.
Yes, I really enjoy Kurt Vonnegut's writing. Some of my favorite books were written by him, and that's kind of. I don't want to use not necessarily like the roadmap I'm following, but. I like how he injects he takes a very serious topic. He can take a very serious topic and then put kind of like a gallows humor layer across it and make it funny. But yeah, you can have something that's profound. You can have a message. That's one of the things I love about science fiction is that it's a lot more open for you to say what you want to say without coming across as preachy, because you have the ability to just pull in fantastical elements and surrealist elements. And because people are already expecting that to a certain degree, it's a lot easier to get, your reader to buy into that concept.
If you can make something fun, if you can make something just fun, people are in. That's just the way it is. That's how it works. I don't know. Like I said, if anybody that will tell you that they don't like to play, I will show you a liar. It's like it's one of those big whoppers in life, right behind I don't like ice cream. Like anyone that says that is like
Lies.
probably, yeah,
Or lactose intolerant.
even lactose intolerant people like ice cream.
That's true. We will suffer for it.
I've seen it. I have legitimately seen it. Right?
Yeah,
they don't do it all the time, but every once in a while they're like, I'm in. I don't care. I'll pay for it.
Just need to know where the nearest bathroom is.
Yeah.
Just point me in the direction. In about 20 minutes, I'm running.
Yeah. See? Yeah. There you go. Right? Like no one. Right? So it's like the same thing. Everybody wants to have fun.
Yeah.
If you can make something seem fun, you can put a profound message. Now, I may not always agree with the profound message anyway, but I can at least say I had a good time. And that is all you can ask for, really, in a good story.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we're all here for a good time, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
Right? Engage me.
Yeah, I'm here for a magical experience, and I want to feel something. I don't always necessarily need to feel happy. I don't always feel sad either, but I don't mind the roller coaster of life, because life is a roller coaster. I'm going to have big ups.
Let me tell you, it is.
Yes. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's probably the biggest roller coaster of all, because at that moment, like, I think one of the reasons I've held off is that I recognize the moment I have kids, it ain't about me no more. It's about them, right? Yep. They're the stars of the 100%. Show, and I'm just along for the ride at this point, right? Basically, my job at that point is do the best I can to make sure they're better, right? Better than I am, hopefully. I don't mind your singing, Jag, at all. So yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's very true. If they become the number one thing in your life, that's it. You cannot put yourself before them. Whatever your kid needs, that's what you need to focus on. But it's also incredibly enriching and very inspiring. Like I'm able to just kind of watch my kids be kids, and it gets the wheels turning. One of the kind of side characters in the novel, he's this little subterranean gremlin named Zizi that they find in their quest to find the pyramid at the end of the world. And originally I wrote him as just kind of like this, almost like a monkey or a dog, like a companion. But then as I worked on the story and I worked the script, worked it and everything, and my daughter became a toddler, just watching her do her thing, I'm like, no. This character is going to be based on my toddler daughter. And just like the action he would take, and now like how he responds to things, and he's always climbing on shit and stealing food and disappearing. You're like, where'd he go? It's it's just a little subterranean toddler monster with a spear. That's fun. Yeah. Good times. Because that's really what they are. If you have a toddler, they're a little gremlin creature.
Actually, that sounds totally true.
It's. I mean, my daughter now, she's 3, and it's always from the top rope. You turn your back and then you look, and she's like standing on top of the couch. She's like, "Daddy, catch me!" And then she just jumps at you. You're like, "Oh God!"
Yes. Well,
it's it makes life interesting. Definitely. The whole being able to sleep a full night also makes things a little wonky as well.
Well, I mean, you give that up too. It's like, what happens? Like, well, it's about the kid, not about me anymore. It's like,
not about me anymore. What's that? It's 3 a.m. and you're screaming you need me. All right, I'm coming in. I'm gonna calm you down, get you back to sleep. All right. Oh, now it's 4. You're doing it again. Okay, let's go. Let's do it again. Don't be mad at your kids. Don't scream at them or anything like that. Like, they're just learning how to process their emotions. They don't know. Just you're the adult. You're the patient one. You just gotta be there for them.
You have to have it. I'm sure there are moments you'd be like, could I just have 5 minutes off? Just 5 minutes. I just need.
Well, I mean, I've been holding a baby this entire hour. So
yes, it is. I mean, that's it. Like, but by the way, that's going to be in the episode description. Pa Bahou has been holding his baby for an hour in this whole conversation, and did that while talking to me. He is a skilled dude, automatically. That goes without saying. Just
dadding it up over here. You're just joshing around. I'm just dadding it up.
That's right. That's right. And
that's right, baby.
That's right. That's totally it. That's totally it. Well, and Jag is laughing at both of us because it's totally true. I feel like, and this is what I feel like. I feel like we could go a little while longer, but I also kind of feel you got stuff to do, and you got like, especially since you've had this kid on your lap for about an hour. So I kind of feel like I should probably give you a break at some point here, and I do appreciate you coming back. And by all means, feel free to come back anytime you want to.
Yeah,
For sure.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
Maybe
So,
maybe next time I'll have 2 babies and I'll
yeah. And then I'll feel incredibly guilty. It's like, oh my god, oh my god, it's like here it is. But what you should do, this is what you should do. You should once again promote your book. Oh yeah, he's got 2 kids, Jag. Like he legitimately has 2 kids. He has a 3-year-old right now, who's napping. And that's kind of the other reason why I'm going, because I got this feeling. It's just my inner voice is telling me you're going to need to be a superhero for your 3-year-old probably throughout the day to day. So I'm going to let you be that superhero she needs, right? And probably she's and when she's healthy enough to tackle you again, that
Plus, we started with children, we end with children. We have gone full circle.
That's
right. It has been wonderful.
Why not leave on a high note, right? So on that note, good sir, talk about your book again. Talk about where people can find you again. And I'll wrap up the show, and then we'll just talk for like a couple minutes after and let you go.
Deal. So for those who came in late, my name is Paul Bahou. My debut novel, Sunset Distortion in the Pyramid at the End of the World, is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and all those fun little online places. I have a website currently under construction, so in the meantime, you can find me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Paul Bahou Writes. I've got some short fiction up there. You can come drop in, say hi. We could talk about whatever. I've been holding a baby this entire time. The fun thing about having children is that, they talk about dad strength. It's real. Like having a kid is like buying a set of weights that gets heavier every time you pick them up. So, he's a chunky little dude, just turned 8 months. Say hi, Harrison. That's right. He was actually very well behaved the whole time.
I think he was just looking at me. It's like, who's this guy? Why is he talking to my dad?
I think being 8 months, just everything is surprising. Like, who is this person? What is happening? I think I pooped myself. Could someone please take care of it? But I would love to come back. Thank you for having me. This has been wonderful.
Well, no, you're welcome anytime. So for everybody watching, listening, so I'm doing another stream later on today. Zachary Hagan is my guest. It's going to happen at 7 o'clock tonight Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific. But again, to get to Paul's book, because honestly, I really want Paul's book, and I did. Like, just the way he talked about it, it just made me crack me up just listening to it. So definitely check out his book. As for me, my book comes out. I'm going to do this real quick because I'm a trained professional and stuff, right? And my book comes out literally this Wednesday. It's called Alice 1. It's the sequel to Alice 0. And you can definitely check that out. As I type this can go real slow and monotone until I can do this part. Yes, I did that part. So this is my book. You can go check it out right now and give a pre-order, put a pre-order in. I'm literally working on it this afternoon. And follow up my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast. My YouTube channel is Joshua Panteloresco. Hit like, subscribe, enable notifications here or there. I'm good either way. There's always new content in both places. To everybody watching, to everybody listening, thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Stay inspired, keep shining in the dark. I will see you later on this afternoon.